Welcome to our January 10th, I should say, 2026 edition of Gold and Black Saturday.com Saturday Simulcast. Big show for you today. We'll lead off with Jellison and Tom Dienhart talking about the football portal, all things related to Purdue football. Segment 2 will be Bruce Weber from the Big Ten Network. Break down a little bit where Purdue is in Big Ten basketball and his thoughts on the league race, et cetera. And then Bruce Parkinson. Purdue fans know him, the Hall of Fame basketball player, the person that Braden Smith broke his Purdue record in assists. Of course, Braden Smith now the Big Ten's all-time leader in assists. So enjoy the show, and a reminder, too, that you can take advantage of our 50% off portal deal on GoldandBlack.com. A good time to become a member of GoldandBlack.com. It's still going on and will be for not much longer. So if you are a non-member, for new members only, I should say, you can become a member at a 50% off here, special going on. So have a great rest of the show, so to speak, and enjoy the interviews. It's by the time we're recording slightly before showtime, and something probably will have changed in the world of Purdue acquiring somebody else or somebody, the portal's still open. But Dub, I'll start with you. The count as of this morning was 14, but I think maybe that portal class has already increased. But give us the skinny of what's going on with Purdue so far.
Yeah. And, this is something that I think we had talked about during the latter portion of the season, Purdue being a little bit more calculated in who they target and who they go after. And I think that's exactly what we've seen so far. Barry Odom and staff are not tasked with having to add 50 some odd new transfers this offseason. I think the number's at 15 now, if memory serves me correctly. Yeah. They just got Dylan Drennan, a punter from Buffalo. He's really talented and punted well for them last year, so that's a good pickup. But seeing the guys that they've gone after and the guys that they've got locked in, it's a lot of guys that have experience, a lot of guys that are coming off starting. You got several guys that started at the Power 4 level last year, and I think that's big for a program like Purdue, especially trying to fill the holes of the positions that they saw guys leave at. Particularly at the starting positions. So I think Purdue's being a little bit more calculated, going after guys with experience more so. Obviously, you still got guys like Anthony Specca and Makai Sana, who are former highly touted recruits that are kind of bouncing back and looking for a change of scenery. So you're still always going to have those kinds of guys if you're Purdue, but getting the guys with experience is big.
Yeah, Tom, and you've covered this and watched this closely in the last couple of years. The formula, I think, was 10. Initially 10 of the first 14 were Power 4 guys from big schools, guys that, for whatever reason, and then W quoted the numbers of the guys that have some experience. But that formula, you got to hit on these guys too. It's ultra important as you continue to add guys. And what's your take on what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I think, it's no revelation, but I think the general feeling is you want production over potential. Yeah. I mean, you can't be rolling the dice hoping somebody's going to produce for you, especially if you're in Purdue's predicament, right?
Yeah.
We all know the sense of urgency in West Lafayette. They got to win now. They had to win yesterday.
Yeah.
So they have to get proven commodities, guys who have played. And I really don't care if you played at the FCS level, D1, D2, whatever. If you can play, I think you can play. I think you can play no matter where you're coming from. Sometimes those guys from lower levels are hungrier.
Yeah.
Than maybe a guy transferring down, so to speak, from an SEC school to Purdue.
Yeah.
Maybe they may look at Purdue in a different light than a guy coming up from a smaller school.
Yeah.
So again, I like those guys with something to prove, with a chip on their shoulder, and Purdue's got some of those guys. I think Dub and I both really like the two running backs they got so far. Mm-hmm. The kid from Texas, Jarrett Gibson, he talked about highly talented players. Boy, he was a guy no more highly talented than anybody Purdue's got to come from so far, right? A 4-star kid from IMG Academy from Gainesville, Florida. Just going to Texas tells you all you need. He got on the field in Austin, too. And then the Here's a perfect example from Jackson State, the SWAC.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Walter Payton's alma mater, Travis Terrell. I posted on the message board yesterday or 2 days ago a video clip of a punt return he had. And this kid's electric, right? And he's kind of a water bug, 5'9", 175. He can catch the ball. You can do a lot of things with him. They like to see the Swiss Army knife. That you can line him up outside. You can return kicks where you can catch passes on third down. So kind of a thunder and lightning. Dynamic. Dub had somebody tell him that, and that seems like a good moniker for those two guys. So a nice start there, and a lot of positions, right? I guess now I kind of wonder what Dub thinks. We have 15 guys now, Dub. How many more do you think we're going to see?
Yeah, good question. Go ahead, Dub. Answer that.
It's hard to put an exact number on it, but in terms of looking at the positions that I think they need to continue to add to, and I think Tom and I have talked about this as well. Edge rusher hasn't really seen any transfers incoming, and that was a big big issue for Purdue last year, not being able to get a consistent enough pass rush from those edge guys, Sands, CJ Nunnally. I think there's a spot that they need to hit hard. I think cornerback, which they're doing. Cornerback still has a few guys out there that Purdue's looking at, and then wide receiver as well.
Yeah,
I think those are the three big ones right now. Prior to a day or two ago, I would have said offensive line too, but you get three guys that I think can come in and start in Boss Stanley, Micah Banuelos, and Nuku Mafi. Excuse me, I've been butchering that name already.
I don't know how you guys are doing it anyway, but go ahead.
To say. It's a fun name to say.
Mm-hmm. They had a couple of good all-name team guys, him and then Mr. Clark. I think those two might be some fan favorites if they go out there and produce. But a wide receiver, cornerback, and edge rusher, I think are the three biggest areas of need, and where I would expect Purdue to add to between now and honestly the end of January, because the portal closes on the 16th, but you can add guys whenever. So I think you can see for the next month or two, you might see guys added here and there.
All right, the $64,000 question, or actually maybe the $6 million question in the world of college football, is quarterback, and we've discussed that at length with Ryan Brown coming back. I'll start with you, Tom. But any thought that I know there's thoughts of whether they're going to add one, maybe not a high level, or a one that's at the $6 million level, obviously. But what do you see there? And as this continues to evolve, that seems to be the big question, not the only question, certainly.
Unless Alan Carpet can line up some NIL deal for a kid, maybe we can get the Raiola kid from Nebraska and West.
Yeah, that'd be all right. Yeah, well, I can't. As I said, I can't get him to pay him $500,000 to mow my lawn. That wouldn't even be enough. That wouldn't even be enough. But go ahead.
It's a really big yard. You got a really big yard. Yeah, that is the big question. And I think from what Dub and I sort of gather, I don't anticipate it. I guess I'll speak for myself right now. I don't anticipate it. I think if the price is right, if they find a kid, it's going to be someone along the lines of Malachi Singleton, somebody that ilk, an unproven guy, like a redshirt freshman guy who's barely started his career. But they've already got 5 quarterbacks on scholarship.
Yeah.
And I kind of got the sense that's about their cap for that position, 5 quarterbacks on scholarship. When Evans Chuba came back, I think that may have kind of closed the door on bringing in a portal quarterback. Who knows, though? I mean, again, if the price is right, if they got a kid who wants to come and they like him, and again, the price is right. But at this point, I'd say the odds of them bringing in a quarterback are slim. And again, if they bring in somebody, it's not going to be the kind of guy fans are going to be shaking their pom-pom about, and they think they got the next Matthew Stafford. So like it or not, Ryan Brown's going to be your quarterback next year. And like Dub said, boy, they only got one receiver right now in the portal.
Yeah, that's got to be.
Kid from FAU. And Dub talked about edge rusher. We had somebody tell both of us pretty close to the program. We asked him once, what are the biggest priorities for Purdue? He goes, well, the top 3. He goes, edge rusher, edge rusher, edge rusher.
Yeah.
So there you go. And they have none right now. So good luck getting some difference makers off the edge. Those guys, that position, There's a story in The Athletic. They're priced out positions. That position is second most priciest after quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
If you got like Nick Scorton or Cadron Jenkins, those guys cost a lot of money. So anyway, they got to get somebody off the edge, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to fill that role. And Dub and I are out of eligibility. And again, he talked about cornerback too. We like Mr. Clark, a big kid, like he's a 6 foot tall kid. But you need some more guys out there too. So bear with me. I'll give you a quick rundown. 3 defensive linemen, 1 receiver, 2 running backs, 2 linebackers, 2 DBs, 4 offensive linemen, and then 1 punter. Like Dub said, looks like a very good punter out of Buffalo. And you guys know how much I like punters.
Yeah. It's funny, and the elephant in the room, in at least among fandom, is obviously, and by the time Indiana obviously plays tonight, for those of you that are watching this on Friday, now some of you may hear this as part of Saturday Simulcast on Saturday, but keeping up with that situation being the elephant in the room, and where that I don't know if that's the whole litmus test. Obviously, Indiana's caught lightning in a bottle and may win the national championship. I still can't get used to saying that, but this is the standard that Purdue fans, or not the standard. You got to be able to compete against your rival, and it's amazing how quickly things have turned in 2 years. But how do you, and I'll ask both of you this. Dub, I'll start with you, just in terms of that mantra. I know Barry Odom doesn't have in his staff, they just want to get quality football players here and be competitive, but that still hangs over the program a little bit in terms of at least watching Indiana make its way to the national championship.
Yeah, I think it's just adding insult to injury. If you're Purdue and you're a Purdue fan, just seeing what Indiana's been able to do, their quick turnaround, it makes you think like, why can't Purdue do that? And I don't know. You guys have been watching college football a lot longer than I have. I've never seen anything like this. Yeah. I don't know if anyone has. This is an anomaly. This is once in a generation. I don't know if anyone else will ever see this in their lifetime. Just how drastic of a change this has been for Indiana football. I think, Purdue fans can look at, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, Virginia this year, Jed Fish and what he did at Arizona, that kind of model where you start slow and you build your foundation and you gradually get better and better and better as a program. I think that's a lot more realistic to look at and kind of strive for, rather than going from, what were they, 3-9 to only losing the game last year. And then, being the favorite to win the national championship this year. So, I think if you're Purdue, that's kind of what you should strive for and what you're going to have to strive for, rather than, the extreme that we've seen in Bloomington.
Yeah, Bruce Weber, Tom, it said in offline and guest later in the show, but he was at Kansas State, and this, having covered college football for a long time, Bill Snyder. I mean, that'd be about the only one that, and again, I understand that life is totally different than it was, but it's almost as shocking, or Indiana's more shocking, and even what Bill Snyder did, I think, at Kansas State in the program. We do remember a day, Tom and I, being a little bit older, that when Oregon was awful. Yeah. Well, they're not that way anymore. But it is an interesting dynamic, Tom, in terms of a standard among fans. That if I'm Barry Odom, I can't worry about that. I just got to get the best guys in here and figure out a way to coach them up.
Yeah, you got to keep your head down and keep working, right? You always want to keep your eye on your enemies, though. He's got they got to know what's going on down south.
Yeah.
And Kansas State, Oregon, and Virginia Tech's another school that Frank Beamer. There's one point they were going to fire him, I remember, after his 3rd year, but of course they ended up playing for the national championship at one point. So, but again, the paradigm's changed so much, right?
It's apples.
Dub referenced Virginia and Arizona of recent vintage that maybe more realistic things to strive to be as far as the more gradual ascent, but it's still a pretty quick ascent now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jeb Fish had him flipping 2 years in Tucson, I think, right?
Yep.
And the guy at Virginia did it just as quick. So again, 2-3 years max. Yeah. You should be able to get this thing flipped if you're going to flip it, right? It just seems like the timetable has been sped up now with this transfer portal and your ability to make these wholesale changes in your roster, and so again, you're right. It is what it is, and again, what's going on in Indiana is maybe the greatest story in college sports history.
Yeah, if not sports.
That sounds crazy, and I'm not a guy who wants to get caught up in the hype of the moment, but I don't know, man. There's the Louisiana's program in college football history is on the verge of winning a national title.
Yeah.
I mean, a college football power is the #1 seed in the playoff, ranked #1, has the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, just 3 years ago, I thought you were crazy. I had somebody come put you in a straitjacket and get you in the padding, put you in the padded cell. But again, people got to deal with it and blame Kirk Cignetti because he's ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, not just Purdue.
Everybody's pointing at IU. Why can't this be us? Why can't that be us? And believe me, Purdue's not the only school banging its head against the wall when people making that comparison.
Well said and well taken. BetMGM is a sponsor, and I should have put never bet in my life. Should have bet 2 years ago. Just think how many odds you could have gotten. You probably could have gotten them somewhere.
You wouldn't be on this simulcast.
No, I would not. I would.
You'd be in Aruba.
Yeah, there you go. All right, gentlemen, thanks so much. We'll look forward to your work. By the time most of you listen, watch, view this, something will have changed. Tom and Dub are adding to it daily. Of course, we'll be talking also to Mike this afternoon. But so a lot going on, and a reminder too. If you're not a subscriber, a portal special, we'll call it the Dub and Tom special, half off of your subscription to GoldandBlack.com. Think about that. It'd be a great way to join us.
Quick hats off to Dub. He's doing a great job, man. And just like I said, I really appreciate what he brings to the table. And fans, be wise to sign up. I think we have a pretty good team here, and Dub's really been keeping us all on top of the portal real well.
All right. Well, we will take a short break, and in segment 2, Bruce Weber will join us, and we'll look forward to talking a little Big Ten basketball. And then following that, segment 3, Bruce Parkinson will join us too, and both those guys, great analysts of college basketball, and we'll look forward to that. Gentlemen, have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Joined by Bruce Weber. Person needs no introduction to Purdue, the Purdue world, and Big Ten basketball fans, college basketball fans. 497 wins. I keep looking at that, and I said, "You should." Well, I know just 3 more, but 497 is pretty dang impressive. Your career, obviously, at Southern Illinois, Kansas State. You were an expert in basketball before you ever got those jobs. But looking back now, it's got to be kind of fun to be back in the realm of talking about basketball in the Big Ten Network and seeing what is a loaded Big Ten conference this year for not only for Purdue faces, but the rest of the league is really something.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think your elite teams, your top teams, are as good as they've been in years.
Yeah.
Obviously Purdue is really, really good. Michigan is at times looks unbeatable, to be honest, but then they looked human the other night against Penn State. Michigan State it's Tom Izzo's. They're not as talented. They're not as good as last year, but they're really, really good because they're doing what he believes in, and they guard and defend, and they're physical and rebound, and Illinois has some talent.
Yeah,
they're pretty good, and then I don't want to forget about Nebraska. We'll see how it progresses, but right now, Michigan's resume, Purdue's resume is really, really good, but Nebraska's resume is really impressive. The week they had, beating Creighton by 20, beating Wisconsin by 30, and then going to Illinois. I mean, that's an impressive 8-day span of games and wins, and established himself as one of the top teams in the league and in the country.
Yeah, and you have Nebraska at Indiana tomorrow, Saturday, and that again that'll be a good litmus test of really. I mean, they've been good, and obviously winning at Illinois gets everybody's attention. Beating Michigan State gets everybody's attention, even if it was at home. What do you think not only about that game, but also Indiana? Because Indiana has been pretty good. I mean, and certainly is going to be competitive at home. Whole new situation, but the Hoosiers are going to be interesting. That's going to be a heck of a matchup on Saturday.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I'm excited. I usually get those 40-point blowout games. So
Yeah.
I'm excited that hopefully it'll be a close game. But Indiana's probably in that next group. They are in that next group of teams. And I thought it was, even though it was a win at Maryland, and Maryland's really struggling with Buzz Williams' first year, for them to grind it out a little bit in the first half, make shots, and also to see some other guys stepped up. They had some early wins, and and it ends up Marquette wasn't very, probably very good, and everyone was all excited, and then Kansas State they beat pretty handily, and again they're they're a solid team this year. So but then you lose to Kentucky on the road. You don't play well at Minnesota, and you kind of, are they that good? But I think they're starting to click a little bit, and other guys are playing well, and I think that's what people don't realize. And when I go to the studio and just talk to the other commentators, that it takes a while when you don't have these guys together. Like Purdue's so fortunate to have these guys together. It takes a while to start gelling and figuring it out, and then somebody, like a Wilkerson taking a jump from Sam Houston State to the Big Ten. That's a big jump, and he went through a few struggles, but it looks like he's starting to understand it. And you get 44 points in a game, and now he's averaged over 20 the next 5 games. That guy's a real player. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, Purdue fans are always, and more than just about anybody, pretty fixated on Indiana. Indiana football, still hard to get used to that.
I texted you yesterday, and I was like, there's Hoosier fans in Chicago airport, in Indianapolis airport. Where did they come from? They didn't wear their Indiana stuff until November when I was in Indiana. So it was it's interesting, but credit to them and what he's done. And
unbelievable coaching job.
It's just amazing.
By the time this airs, for those of you that are watching on Friday, yes, Indiana will be playing tonight. Purdue fans don't need to be reminded of that, because it's Kurt Cignetti and company, but putting Indiana football in the national title discussion is just still, I'm having a hard time getting used to. But my question really is about Indiana men's basketball. What's the style? I mean, Purdue. I'm sure Purdue fans have started watching. Purdue doesn't play Indiana, I don't believe, until January 27th. But what are you seeing from Coach DeVries in terms of what he's trying to get done there? Obviously, he's got some talent with his own son, but this is a team that seems to be very different than the Indiana teams we've seen over the last 2 or 3 coaches.
Very skill orientated. There's no doubt about that, and I think he was at Creighton for a long time. Coach McDermott does a great job offensively. And I think used a lot of that, that spread you out using space. They get good movement. And as I said, they recruited to get skill, to get shooters. And, the other day, I think it was 6 guys made threes in the game. I guess their downfall. And then in this year, with so much size in the league, their downfall is they don't really have that inside presence. And that's the question I think a lot of people have, when you get against Michigan, when you get against Purdue and Illinois, and teams that, even though Michigan State, you have size, and you're going to have to not only they offensively, I don't think they'll worry about it, because they'll spread you out and shoot the ball, but are you going to be able to guard and protect the paint and guard those guys in the post?
Yeah, and that's going to be a storyline. And you talk about Purdue size, Michigan size. Talk about Purdue. I think you saw in person. You did the Purdue-Kent State game, if I remember.
Eastern Illinois.
Illinois. That's right. And not exactly a close one. And yet, you obviously are very, very much in tune with where Matt Painter is, and having worked with him and known him and recruited him, et cetera. How do you assess Purdue right now? I mean, they've got all the pieces. They had the one shock you can relate to, losing an early season game to Iowa State. You did your day as an assistant at Purdue. But what do you see? What when you look at Purdue, what needs to continue to stay good, and what needs to get better, do you think, for Purdue to be in Indianapolis or make a deep run in the tournament?
I know Matt has talked to me about it, and I think he's talked publicly. You know, they had to get rebounding better, and there's no doubt the addition of Clough has been, you know, so important. But it's amazing how much better a rebounder Trey Kaufman-Renn is, and it's baffling. But it shows his determination and what he's about as a, you know, as a player, as a person. His determination is just amazing. I'm going to go rebound now. He must have like flipped the switch or something. And he is relentless on the boards, and you put both those guys together, it's important. It's impressive. So, and then they needed to protect the rim on defense and protect the paint. And I think you know, Iowa State, it was one of those games. And again, does Purdue have kryptonite? Yes, they have. Everyone has certain weaknesses where they're going to struggle a little bit. And you're going to see that throughout the Big Ten season. And, you know, you just can't panic. The big thing is going to be, are you healthy going into the NCAA tournament? Are you clicking? Are you playing well at the, you know, right time? And then the matchups, you know, Al, it's so, and you can't predict that if they have to play Iowa State in the, again, in the, you know, 8 or whatever, lead 8, you know, it's going to be a tough game. Can they beat them? Yeah, you know, but they're going to have to play good basketball. I like that they've also, and I don't know, I brought this up to Matt after the Eastern Illinois game. His bench is so much better. They're getting so much more production out of other players. Cox is more confident. I know Harris has kind of been up and down. He was struggling, and then all of a sudden he played well. You know, so those guys are, you know, other guys, Jack Bender, you know, you got guys that can give them some production, and I think that's really, really important, especially as you get deep into the season, into the tournament, that you have guys that are established and they can make the little plays that make a difference in those close games that determine if you're going to the Elite Eight or the Final Four.
Yeah, it's funny because on Wednesday night against Washington, you know, Braden Smith has something you rarely hear of anymore: 3 fouls in the first half, right? Yeah, and he gets 3 fouls, and Omar Meyer had to play and started the second half, and that was a good thing for him. He did some good things. He's capable of doing really good things. But when you have a guy like, and you know this in coaching, when you got a guy like Braden Smith who doesn't particularly like to play less than 37 minutes a game, that can make a challenge for guys like Meyer, like Benter. To some extent, Harris and Cox are interchangeable. I get that. But it's those, as Matt Painter talks about, and I'm sure you've seen it too, is that it's those guys that play 7 minutes a game and are really good players, but don't get it in the rotation. That's tough. That's tough sledding, especially when you're younger in your career.
Yes, it's tough, and understanding your role and where you fit in, and taking that pride when you go in to give, you know, some production, and you know, and they really don't need scoring. Cox has given them a little bigger boost than maybe I thought, but those other guys, somebody's got to defend. That would be my question. Do you really have, you know, it helps to have not only one lockdown defender, but it helps to have 2 lockdown defenders. If you really want to be a good team, have they gotten better with that? I think Braden, and I've talked to Matt about this, he's capable, and I think he's shown it. And you know, I thought the second half Minnesota game, I believe I was watching, he just like took it over on the defensive end and the hustle plays and getting steals, and you know, that's important. And you don't want him in foul trouble. I thought it was really good that what Matt did, and I was in the studio and he talked about it, that he wasn't going to start him at halftime with Andy Katz, and I never have talked to Matt about that. It's maybe never come up, but I thought it was good, and maybe a little message to Braden too: don't make a dumb foul. You know, 45 feet from, you know, give you your 3rd foul after you made a turnover, you know, just to keep your poise and be a little smarter if you want to stay in the game. So, you know, all those things are a little learning. I don't know if Matt did that, but that was my first thought. You know, hey, you know, you can complain the ref could maybe not call that foul, but don't put yourself in that bind and get that foul at the end of the half if he wants you in there and you want to be in there. be a little smarter so next time that doesn't happen.
Well, you can relate with Darren Williams and D. Brown. How do you tell a guy like Braden? Coach, you didn't have any problem doing it, and I don't think Matt really does. But, Braden Smith is the proverbial coach on the floor, gives 140% effort, and yet he does do silly things sometimes or overplays it. It's got to be an interesting dynamic as a coach. Like, Jesus, Braden, don't do this. But there was a little bit of that exchange, I think, towards the end of the half on Wednesday.
Yeah, and he said he was explaining to him he was going to sit him out and help, Meyer get ready and all that.
Yeah.
And I think it's still, and again, things, crazy things can happen, in a game. Maybe he gets a cut on the head and you got to run to the locker room. And now in a key time, Meyer's got to be in there. And it could be the difference. So now all those opportunities that you get during the season are going to help prepare you. And I think Matt has done a good job of the schedule, playing variety of teams, and that's something we have learned. Me being with Coach Katie, we didn't know with that early groups how to get to the Final Four, how to prepare and all. And then we learned. I'll be honest, it's just kind of part of and it was something all my experiences at Purdue helped me be ready when we got to Illinois. And again, we have a miracle game against Arizona to even get there and think how good we were. Yeah. So it's just people they always get, Purdue going to get to the Final Four, Michigan going to get to the Final. Who knows? You're going to get to the 16 and the 8. Now, can you get, everything, all this stuff got to be aligned. And for you to get there, and we'll just have to wait and see, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah, it's funny because it all came down. I had this premonition with Purdue 2 years ago that it was all going to come down to Southern Illinois game, Lance Jones. So I say that during the season, it's going to come down to some funky thing he has to do. Even when you have Zach Edey and Braden Smith, it did kind of come down to that. He hit the shot when you had to have it. That's how it is. That's the
and it's crazy that addition. And not only he scored and made some plays, but his defense and his quickness, athleticism was really, really, really important for them. So, and I hope they have that in, combination of some of these other players on the bench. They don't have him exactly, but they have some guys similar that can help them.
Yeah. All right, we have about 3 minutes left, and this answer could take 6 weeks, if not infinite amount of time. The state of college basketball and the wonderful world. I don't even ask you about football, which is a dumpster fire. We all can relate to that. I mean, the world is right now. I know this is rhetorical somewhat in terms of your. I'm guessing I know how you feel, but the mid-year stuff that. The international guys coming in, the NBA guys coming in. How do you, if you're the commissioner, how do you fix some of this stuff? I mean,
I don't understand why they keep going, and I know the NCAA is afraid of lawsuits and all this. I think a lot of that could have been solved years ago. They should have paid players something years ago. They should have just not allowed any sport to transfer years ago. Then you couldn't have had a lawsuit that, hey, tennis is transferring, they don't have to sit out. What are your main sports? Not that those other aren't important, but, have everyone the same back then, and you can't change it. And it's sad, to be honest. Don't let there's rules, and whether you like Coach Calipari or not, he's right. There's rules. We got to abide by them. And Matt talked about it. And, Coach Izzo, he sends me 5 a.m. texts, and Mike goes preaching. I said, you don't have to preach to me. But he sent, I don't know if you saw the thing Charles Barkley said the other day about we've heard 98% of the kids that were going to college to get an education, to get, these life experiences, to get mentorship for life skills, all these things. And we've heard them because now they're just transferring and not getting people to help them in life. And I said something the other day, and I had some of my guys from Southern actually call me and say, Coach, thanks for saying that, because this, what we went through and how we grew up gave us a chance in life. And so again, I'm not saying, take away players' rights. I'm not against that. They should have got paid. I fought with Tom Izzo in meetings 20 years ago to get paid. And, but it's sad. It's gotten out of hand. I was in the studio the other day, and they said offensive linemen are going for $1 million now. Think about that. It was a quarterback $1 million. Now you're talking about an offensive lineman. Come on. It's just, and not that they're important, but I didn't know it was gotten that out of hand. But sooner or later, I do know fans, older fans. I've been at, multiple schools, good friends of ours that were boosters, and they're going to get to a point. Somebody's, not going to give them money. So it's, I think, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no return, very little return on investment, so to speak, unless it's got to be a hobby. And and the last time I checked, I wasn't in the ability to, and you need to have Mark Cubans around and others it's just, you need some guardrails
but you know what? And I know we got to probably get off, but one of the most important things is going in the portal. And I tell my guys this all the time. You better get guys that fit your program, fit your style. And when you talk about Indiana football, this guy has been a master. His staff has been a master, getting players that fit into what they want, their scheme, their locker room, and it's just not taking guys because they average 17 or whatever. How did they get it? Were they coached? Were they held accountable? Because otherwise you're going to be frustrated. And I sit on the phone with coaches all the time. I'm their bartender. I'll listen and try to. But hey, did you check into them before? Did you just go off? It's just not watching videos. But it's hard. And
it's hard in football, especially when you don't have time. You just don't have time.
It's hard. And, and then it's, you call coaches that had a player, and they're not going to, for the most part, most aren't going to say too much negative, but obviously, why were you going from one program to the next? And there's some rare exceptions, but most of the time, there was a reason why you keep moving.
All right. Well, like I said, that's the problem. We're not going to get solid. Bruce, thanks so much for your time. We'll look forward to your work throughout the rest of the season. The Big Ten Network, certainly Saturday, Indiana, Nebraska will be a terrific basketball game. It leads right into Purdue, Penn State. And we appreciate that as well. So best to you and your family, and we'll look forward to talking again soon.
All right. Thank you, Al.
Bruce Parkinson joins us. I think he's almost a friend of the show here because he was on last year. He is a friend of the show, but last spring when Braden Smith, everybody knows Bruce Parkinson was the all-time Purdue assist leader. Braden Smith broke that record, and then of course Braden Smith became the Big Ten's all-time leading. But this story, if you didn't watch the Big Ten Network this week, and it's on YouTube as well, great piece on the Big Ten Network and Bruce Parkinson's role. Bruce is the gift that keeps on giving with Purdue men's basketball. Of course, a Hall of Famer, played for Purdue 1973 to 77. And in a magnificent career. But Bruce, first, welcome to the show. But it's got to be extra satisfying when you see Braden continue to rack these things up and rack his assist records, but also watching him play the way he does.
Couldn't be happier, Alan. Records like this, lucky enough to hold it for quite some time.
47 years, but who's counting?
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Right. Of course, a different era, and the teams are playing, a lot more games. But to have the relationship with, with the family, from, going back to Braden's dad, Dustin, growing up with Austin, and being able to coach those guys with Dustin's father. And then start watching Braden in when he was in late junior high in AAU games. And then, of course, I probably saw 40 games throughout his high school career. So, this is going to be broken. But to have someone like him from a very close family friend situation, but also the respect for how he goes about his life and his game. Purdue's been, we've been very fortunate to have that guy, be able to watch him for the last 4 years.
And while the story has been told, obviously, about Bruce and Bruce Parkinson and how that happened, revisit that just for a second, because the fact that Westfield and where you lived, and the fact that you watched him, and the fact that you called a guy named Matt Painter and said, "Boy, you need to take this guy," but that story still needs to be repeated for those that don't know it.
Well, as I said, I watched him in junior high. He was so little, Alan, small, and so was his dad. You look at Dustin now; he's probably 6'2", 6'3", but he got all of his hype after high school. So I started watching more seriously freshman and sophomore years, and by the time I knew that there was something there. He played, and he's always going to play with that chip on his shoulder, because he's been underestimated, undervalued virtually his whole life. I think maybe here these last 2 years, everybody understands just how doggone good he is. But the thing the 2 or 3 things from a high school standpoint that stood out. One was junior year, as I said on that Journey broadcast, was you could tell, I could tell there's something really special here. And yet he still was, generally he wouldn't, as Jenny pointed out in that TV thing, his size, he's not going to jump out at you from a height, strength standpoint coming out of high school. But what really did it was when I would go to those games, I'd always I'd sit close to Dustin and Jenny, or at least have a couple conversations. And Dustin started talking about this IU informal visit that they had just had.
I know, that got your goat.
And Archie, they hadn't offered. Obviously, Purdue hadn't offered at that point, but it was an unbelievable visit that they were describing. I mean, Archie spent an hour with them after the game and rolled out the red carpet for them, and you could tell. I mean, for any of us, when he's talking to Belmont, Montana State, or some of those schools, all of a sudden IU rolls out kind of the carpet for him and his family. And I said, nope, this ain't happening. And that's what triggered me to call. That's what triggered me to call Matt and tell him that one is the height thing, that I think there's a good chance that he could get his height after high school, but that this guy is rare, and he has all the skills and abilities. And I made the comment somewhat tongue in cheek, but when you think about how smart he is, that I made that comment, he's going to be smarter than all your assistant coaches. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for his assistant coaches, who were also college basketball players. But I'd not seen any combination of skill, IQ, and this chip on his shoulder, and the drive to win and be better. And so that kind of, I think that kind of started it. And then I'll tell you two things, Alan, from his high school career. I've been trying to think, I need to ask Braden, but early in either his junior year, or I believe it was his senior year, more likely, one of my buddies and I went to watch him play. And it was out of a timeout. First game that we watched that particular year, out of a timeout. We're just kind of talking, and the game resumes. All of a sudden, Braden is not bringing the ball up the floor. Somebody else is. He throws it, I think, to the center, kind of like we throw it to Trey, who throws it to Jacobson. They called at the timeout a sky lob for Braden.
Yeah.
And they threw it up at the basket. Braden catches it with 2 hands and jams it. And I'm looking at my buddy, Jeff Tweedy. I'm looking at him and said, did we really see that?
Yeah.
It's like we wanted to see it again and again and again. And his athletic ability gets understated so much. But he's going to get a dunk. I mean, he's going to get a dunk before his senior year is over with, but that and his 3 games, sectional 3 games, his senior year, playing on a broken foot and leading his team to their first high school sectional championship against probably the number 1, number 4, and number 7 team in the state. By then, of course, he had already committed. Matt had offered, done some more investigation, and but as a high school player, watching him that week, I'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and that's coming from a guy that knows him. Now, some of the characters we're talking about, obviously Braden's mom, but also Bruce Parkinson's son, Austin, the head coach for Butler women's basketball. This is a group that knows basketball, lives it, and has watched it from an Indiana level. And yeah, he is unique. He ends up being Mr. Basketball and doing all the things he did. Now, we talked off air about something that I think is really important. You obviously had guys like Frank Kendrick and John Garrett and Walter Jordan to throw the basketball to, throw past the basketball to, and that certainly helped you in your day getting records. But there's a lot I wanted you to articulate what really goes into having this type of record, because obviously you got to have a Zach Edey. That helped for a couple of years. Trey Kaufman-Renn led one of the leading scorers in the Big Ten last year. But talk about what that, I mean, from your perspective, what all goes into having that type of record.
Alan, that's a great question. And unless you've kind of been in those shoes to understand what all it takes, first of all, it obviously starts with a skill and a basketball IQ. I mean, that's a given to even have a chance to do anything close to what Braden has done. Then you have to have a willingness to pass and an understanding the value of that in the scope of a team framework, and also understanding the value to him personally that could be gained by him becoming such a phenomenal passer, that to be able to see these things. I was telling somebody the other day, he's like Matt Stafford. I was watching a football game this year and watching Stafford, and he's always looking away from the actual receiver that he's throwing the ball to. And he will look, let's say he will look to the left and looking at and getting everybody to lean there, knowing he's going to throw it to the guy on the right. And that's a unique kind of a thing that has to be there, that obviously Braden has. Then you've got to start as a freshman. I mean, you to do that longevity of the Big Ten overall all-time assists, you got to start as a freshman. You have to play a lot of minutes, and Alan, you have to earn those minutes. It can't be a guy that's just a passer. It's got to be a guy who's so valuable from his overall offense and his ability to guard somebody, to earn the right to, number one, start playing right from the get-go, and playing a whole bunch of minutes during the course of each and every game. Then you have to be injury-free. And as you mentioned, you have to play with some multiple scorers. I played with guys like Kendrick and Garrett and Walter Jordan and Eugene Parker, and some guys that could put the ball in. And just think of who Braden has played with. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Fletcher and Edey and Trey Kaufman and then the role players that come in that he sets up. And then you have to, and this is something else, that you could have all these things so far. Yeah. But you have to have a coach that appreciates a ball dominant guard. Yeah. And Matt has been obviously the trust that the two of them have built over the over these 4 years. But that was there immediately for Matt to recognize, and his staff and PJ with the offense, of knowing that Braden can be, and he's turned out to be, a ball dominant guard, and then create a supportive offensive strategy to support that. That's just, that's just something people would never, ever think about, that he could have all these other things. But if that coach doesn't recognize that and build that into who he's recruiting, the teammates with him, and then he's been lucky and we've been spoiled here these last 4 years. You have to be on a great team that plays a whole bunch of games in their conference tournament and then the NCAA tournament to get up. If you might have enough minutes, but you might not ever have enough enough games to allow you to be in that running. And then the last thing I would say, and it wasn't a tough sacrifice, I don't think, for Braden, but the sacrifice and willingness to sacrifice his scoring to focus more on running the team and passing and getting others the opportunity to do what they like to do, what Fletch likes to do, what Trey likes to do. Now, Oscar and Jacobson, and Daniel. So, I mean, that's a lot of factors that have to be built in, and then of course be injury free. I think, as I said before, and all these things have lined up, and it's been a treat to watch.
It's interesting because he obviously came into Purdue with that injury and had to deal with that. It was a big concern. Purdue was trying to get a guy in the portal, or was concerned about that, and because of his foot injury, I believe it was, heading into his freshman year. And he's been, knock on wood, if you're a Purdue fan,
knock on wood,
he's been pretty good. Yeah, it is interesting because to get to beat Bobby Hurley, and that's going to be the next mountain to climb, he's going to need to get 37, 38 games in. He can get there. But Purdue's, his teammates have got, and he and his teammates got to win, play maybe 3 games in the Big Ten tournament, play, if you're a Purdue fan, hopefully 6 in the NCAA tournament, and you get a chance to be there. But interesting, it's an amazing story. It's funny because we've talked, I think earlier on, I talked to Bruce Weber earlier in the show, and I'm here with Bruce Parkinson, but the whole opportunity to, have somebody special and have that all come to pass is very, very unique. And there's a lot of good teams in this league, a lot of good players, but to be able to be what he's been has been unreal. All right, there is a guy, and certainly, and the other thing was that a game that I think you weren't able to go to, the Washington game, but you, I'm sure, watched. Braden Smith can turn it on. We know this. We've watched him for 4 years, but 22 points or whatever it was again, he can score. He can make the big shots. We know that. And I have to, you had a chance, and injuries and some things caused you some difficulty down the end of your career and playing at the next level. But talk about that, and as you watch him and where he fits in at the next level, from your opinion.
Yeah, I just looked at knowing we were going to be talking today. I wanted to get a look at the overall stats for the team, and noticing that Trey and Fletch and Braden, they're all average about 13 a game. And I've said a couple things before about Braden's willingness to give up that scoring, because I enjoyed making that great pass, and I know Braden enjoys making that great pass. I laughed. I was at the Minnesota game, and they went to zone, Alan. You may not remember that during the course of the game. And Braden's walking up the floor, and it's almost like he has a smile or a smirk on his face. It's like, you guys are going to play a zone against me? I mean, it was like an insult, and it was like boom, 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 boom. I think he had 3 assists within about the next 3 possessions in the game. But he is, as he showed last night, or at the Washington game,
Wednesday,
he can score. Yeah. He's more. He can score, and he's also a shooter. And I know I was reading the sports page this morning in the Star, and they made a comment about that Braden got those 3 fouls. He didn't start the first time ever, starting the second half. And I'm sure he wasn't happy about that. And yet the first time he came in, first time out, I think. I think he had a drive or something, and one of his patented kind of jump back shots, and they got the rebound again. And they threw it to him over in the corner, right in front of the Purdue bench at the 3-point line.
Yeah.
And he had nobody around him. And he shoots it, makes a three. He's a shooter too.
Oh, yeah,
He
he's
just,
great.
if he had somebody, you look at the number of shots that Fletcher gets from not only Braden, but his teammates. Trey has just done a remarkable job showing his ability to pass this year. But Braden never gets that wide open three. And if he did, he is a great shooter as well as a scorer. And every once in a while, I think it's just like it may start with a little run in the beginning of the game. It's like, yeah, maybe this is one of those nights where I might look to score a little bit more. But his chemistry with those three, their chemistry and what they've been able to do together is just remarkable.
And you're right. He lets the game come to him. Do you think he's got to? I mean, where do you see him at the next level? I mean, in the NBA or wherever he ends up. Again, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder to make it in that league. But I wouldn't bet against him.
He has improved each year from about that junior high. Each year, it's been incredible, and he's continued that through his college career. And I was thinking back the other day, John Stockton and Chris Paul.
Yeah.
I know people today talk about T.J. McConnell as maybe a comparable, but I think it's more both Chris Paul and John Stockton are more complete players than I think TJ is. But Braden is a rebounding guard.
Yeah,
he is a rebounding guard. Now, he probably won't with Oscar and TK in there now, and they're fighting for rebounds. But he is a rebounding guard, even at his size. His jumping ability is really, really good. He has a big wingspan. And so, guys, he's a complete player who, it's a lot of this gets thrown out a lot, having a coach on the floor. But Braden is truly that coach on the floor. And I think that I can't imagine, I just can't imagine that there's not a role if he's playing with other scorers. They can't wait for a guy like him to get on the score with them.
Yeah, I think that's true. All right, one last thing, an obscure thing that I know because we know too many things. Bruce Parkinson Purdue's only had one triple-double in its career. A guy named Joe Barry Carroll, who Bruce played with. And, of course, Joe did it with points, rebounds, and blocks. Bruce Parkinson was within an eyelash, right? 2 rebounds, maybe? I don't remember against Minnesota what it was. I keep thinking, of course, Trey Kaufman-Renn needed assists, and I knew that probably wasn't going to happen on Wednesday night, though he's kind of starting to look like it. Braden Smith's may get there too, but that's maybe the last mountain for him to climb is that triple-double because he is a very good rebounder. Rick Mount, I think, was the first one that really made me notice that this guy has got an arm span of 6'4", 6'5". He's instinctive. But what would you think if he got that done? You think it's going to happen this year?
I don't know. It's
a hard thing in college basketball to do.
The double-double is something that he does kind of regularly. But triple-double, I'm hopeful that he could do that. But I'm more excited about if he gets a chance on a breakaway. I want to see. I hope that he's able, because he has no trouble dunking the basketball. I hope he gets a chance at a freebie out there somehow that he can do that. And what a career! And Alan, when you think through of looking ahead at what Matt's done and his staff of the people that are likely to be there starting next year with Daniel and Raleigh and oh my gosh, the set of guards, and then Ertl coming in. And I tell you who I think of all of that, the guy I'm most excited about maybe Jack Bentner. He's playing out of position for him as a backup to Trey at the 4. when he gets to move to the 3, heck, he played guard and we've seen some flashes of that, but I think he's going to settle in with Raleigh and Daniel up front, and Bentner at the 3. Whoa, that's we got a lot to look forward to from what Matt's really got it going, and we're fortunate and lucky to be able to enjoy this.
And that Jacobson guy too, you can still have that
Oh.
rim protector in there too. You're gonna be all right. And he's getting better every game. I think he really is. He's doing more and more things and being more and more comfortable out there. All right, the world of college basketball, according to Bruce Parkinson and Purdue legend, and Purdue fans thank him for his playing days, but his role with getting Braden Smith maybe took it to a whole other level. So
Might be my best assist.
Yeah, that might be the best assist ever. Absolutely. All right, Bruce, safe travels up to Mackey Arena. Get that phone out so you can watch Austin take on St. John's, you said, right? At the same time,
Yeah.
Butler women's basketball, very, very proud family in basketball, and a great family as well. So, Bruce, have a great rest of your day, and thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you, Alan.
All right, I want to thank our sponsors. Of course, Triple X on the hill, but on the level of Purdue tradition since 1929. And then, of course, Trent Johnson, trentismyagent.com, our good friends at WLFI.com for making all this happen, too. We appreciate them. We'll be back next week. I think Mike DeCourcy is going to join us. And we'll have a lot of basketball talk, probably get Brian Newbert back on too to talk Purdue hoops, as he'll be on the West Coast, as Purdue will be out at USC a week from Saturday. So have a great rest of your day and weekend, and thanks for joining us on Gold and Black Live. Want to thank our sponsors, the Purdue Union Club Hotel and the Boiler Up Bar, 811 Bistro, all the folks that make this happen. We appreciate them. And, of course, our guests, our staffers, Dub Jellison, Tom Dienhart, Bruce Weber, and Bruce Parkinson. We'll be back next week with another Saturday simulcast leading into the Purdue USC game with some special guests as well. So have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks for taking the time to watch or listen. And don't forget to like and subscribe to us. We would appreciate that very, very much. You can enable alerts also on YouTube, and if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast, leave us a positive review, 5-star review would be greatly appreciated. And of course, take advantage of that special to become a member of GoldandBlack.com. Never been a better time to become a member with all that's going on. 50% off. Just go to GoldandBlack.com and sign up. We'd love to have you, and that price will never be lower. So thanks again, and have a great rest of your weekend.